All right, thanks for downloading the template. I'm going to take you through the layers and through the edit of one of these so you can kind of see how it's done and kind of see how what you can do to tweak it to make it your own. So first thing, we do have a light leak on this top layer. It just kind of goes over the image here. I'm going to leave this for now, but if you need to make any changes on these, this one's locked. So if you click on the lock, unlock it, and then down here there's a hue saturation filter. And you can change the hue or saturation of this and the colorize it down here and change whatever color you want. Generally speaking, that gold kind of look works for most of them. If not, I normally just desaturate it and have it just a light leak. But if you don't like it at all, obviously turn it off. But we'll come back to these tweaks later. So I'm going to lock that back up. For this left image, I'm going to drop in our image over here, scale it up, and I do have these grids over here that kind of show me where I normally like to start with the size of my image and what fits in best. So accept that. On each one of these, I do have a camera raw filter that I left on here, so it kind of just adds a little bit of punch to it. And then also, I do like to leave a curves on here. And the reason I do that is if I do need to make any tweaks to my exposure, once I bring it in, I can do that there. And so if you double click on the curves adjustment, it brings up this, and then you can kind of see in real time, as long as you have the preview button checked over here, your exposure. And that's kind of a way to do it quickly. But if you have your settings dialed in, from poster to poster, then you can just drag that on there. So it's there if you want to use it. If not, just go ahead and pass by it. So the next step is our right image. So we can delete this one out of there. And I'll drag in, this one's actually a squatting image for her. So you can leave it a little bit smaller if you want, or you can scale it up however you would like. We'll start kind of in that region, and we'll adjust it as needed for once we get the name in there. So I'll drag that adjustment on there, and as you can see, this was on a little bit different setup, so it's darker. So I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. Looks pretty good right there, and we can fine tune it later if we need. So I'll get that out of there. The next thing below this grain layer, and this is just adding grain to the image, is the shadows. I'm just going to add a blank layer there for now, and we'll come do shadows at the very end. Next up, we got the last name. This is a smart object, so their last name is right here, and then over here, this white is also the name. So when you update it in here, it'll update over there. So if we double click here, I have this gold texture clipping to the name here. So the name is Mitchell. So this team is red and black, so I'm probably not going to do the gold on this one, even though I do like it. So what you can do though is a lot of them, you can do like a silver or like a black if you want, or if you want to change the color of this, if you click the colorize button, and then you can kind of dial in if you want that texture of the team, you can do that. Or if you just turn this off, you can go click here and then change the color to the team. If you have obviously the exact same, the colors, the hex code, you can type that in there. So I'll show you what it looks like with just the color on it. So if you hit Command S on a Mac, file save, it'll save this smart object. It'll take a second to update it, so give it a second to update, because it's not only updating this smart object, it's updating that one on the side that I showed you. And once that's saved, you can close out of this, and you can see it's updated over here and over here. If you want to see more or less than that, you can move that over. But as you can see on this smart object also, there is a blur on it, and you can kind of see it blur in there. So if you want to turn that off here, you can turn that off. If you want to edit it, if you double click on it, you can change how much the blur is and where it's hitting on your last name. Also, if you can see how there's some of these specks are shining through here. If you double click on this layer, it'll bring up this panel, and under blending options, you can see that I have them set here. So you can mess with how much of it shows through here or from the other layers here. So if you have different colors or you want that kind of change, that's where you could tweak that. So this is kind of an advanced level of editing there if you want to fine tune it. But I'm going to cancel because I'm good with how it looked. Next, we'll go down to number. I think I'm going to keep this white. So number 12. Looks good. I do have a dark number on here because if you do a darker number, that edit where some of it shows through will affect the colors differently. So if you're using a darker color, edit it on here. If you want to change the color, and then you can change the color right there. But I'm gonna leave it white because I kind of like that subtle there. And then now you can kind of adjust so you can see part of the number if you need. All right, moving on down. Let's put this back image in. So you're going to double click right here on the smart object. And the reason we need to update this smart object is because there's this reflection down here. And so when we update this, it's automatically going to flip it for this reflection. So double click here. I'm going to pull in the image. I do have these markers in here on kind of the spots where I like their head size to be. So if you kind of match their chin, the top of their head there, and then we'll delete this one out. And then same thing, Command S on a Mac to save, file save. And then once it's saved, you'll close out of this and you'll see it's updated here and in the reflection. So there's a filter on this called threshold, and that's what gives it this like poster look. So if you turn that off, and it still has the camera raw filter on there too, but you can kind of see how it looks. That's like the normal picture, and then the threshold adds it. So basically where the threshold is, it's either white or black and there's no in between. So right now with threshold, it's white and black. So I put this gradient map clip to the top of this image. So if you want to change where the blacks are a different color, if you don't see it in your properties, if you double click, it should bring up this gradient editor. And this is where if you want it, say you wanted this to be red over here, where like all the blacks turn to red, you can kind of see how that changes all the blacks in the image to red. So this is something that's I use a lot. If I'm using like a navy or a blue team, it looks good back there. But since they are red and black, for this one, I'm going to keep these dark parts black. So I'm just going to cancel out of that. And if you want to make these more of a gray, that's also how you would do it. You just change the black part to gray. So if you want to change the threshold amount, so if you get in your images like mostly white or mostly black, if you double click on threshold here, it brings up this threshold level. And if you slide this, you can see how it makes it either bring up more whites or bring out more of the blacks. And so then this is where you kind of find your amount you want of the balance of the whites and the blacks. So I think I'm gonna go kind of in that range so you can see your face, but you still have some shadows. And I'll hit OK. And once you have that dialed in, if your photos are all exposed the same, then you shouldn't have to change that. All right, then down here is your reflection. So if you don't like that, you can flip it off. Then the floor, I have that locked. It just adds a little darkness to it so you can see it. We have this background light. It's just in the background. It's another one of those lens flares. So if you need to change it, the same with before, I have the hue saturation in there, or if you want to turn it off, you can. I put a logo layer in here so that if they don't have jersey numbers and you want to just drop in a logo, you can drop it in there and it'll already have your filters on that. This texture, dot texture right here, you can flip it on or flip it off to see what you like, turn it down. All right, next up that you might want to change is this corner texture. And these are linked together, smart objects. So if you change one, it'll change both. So right now it's gold, and I'm gonna switch that out to, let's do their red. So if you click on this rectangle, turn it on, and we'll go to this, which get us pretty close. Command S to save it so it updates both those smart objects. Close out, and then you can see it on each side there. And then you have another light leak over here, kind of in the back. And then the last name right here of the copy of it, that's over in the corner. We got a folded paper texture, has some texture in the background, and this grain. So you shouldn't have to change those, but if you don't like one of them, you're welcome to turn it off. So the only thing we really need to do is go back up to under the strong grain. I've already created a layer. I'm going to add the shadows, and then we'll be done with this edit. And there you have it. Shadows have been added, and there's the final edit. So all I'll do is save this as a JPEG and send off to the printer. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.